Hey everyone, and welcome back to Tech News Now. We're diving headfirst today into all the AI predictions swirling around for 2025.
Yeah, buckle up. Things are about to get pretty meta.
Metaphysical, even, with AI maybe possibly launching into space.
You heard right. AI so power hungry we might need to send it to its own solar-powered space station. AI that could, try to trick us, and maybe even a tech feud that could shake things up.
Okay, so let's break down these predictions one by one. First off, Meta's Llama. You remember Llama, right? That
Yeah.
friendly open source AI hanging out with all the pricey paid models. Well, looks like it might be getting a little bit of a makeover.
Yeah. Less fluffy llama, more .exclusive alpaca, maybe.
Ooh, I like that analogy.
Hmm.
So right now, Meta's playing the generous host, offering Llama for free, while others like OpenAI and Google are charging a cover charge to use theirs. But the rumor is that free ride might be ending for big companies.
Yeah, well, building these AI giants is kind of like throwing a giant digital gala. It's expensive. Meta might need to balance their generosity with some good old-fashioned revenue.
So much for the sharing is caring motto of open source, huh?
Well, don't worry too much. Predictions say hobbyists and small startups will probably still get to play in the Llama sandbox for free. It's the big corporations that might need to start budgeting for llama
Because
fees.
even tech giants have to watch their bottom line. Speaking of growing pains, it's not just language models that are evolving, right?
Yeah.
The very principles behind their growth, those scaling laws, are branching out too. We're talking robotics, biology, even AI, trying to understand the entire world.
It's like those scaling laws hit a growth spurt and realized they could do a lot more than just language.
I mean, that makes sense, right?
Yeah. Think about learning to bake. You start with a simple recipe, but as you get better, you experiment, you try new ingredients, create entirely new dishes. That's kind of what's happening with scaling laws in AI. They're going beyond the recipe into uncharted territory.
Okay, that analogy makes my brain feel a little less like it's short-circuiting.
Hmm.
So what should we be keeping an eye on in these new AI kitchens?
Startups like evolutionary scale in biology, physical intelligence in robotics, and world labs for what they're calling world models. They're all riding this new wave of scaling law expansion. Things could get pretty interesting over there.
Okay, cool. This is all super interesting. Now, for a little plot twist, though. Donald Trump and Elon Musk might be heading for a very public and messy digital divorce,
Yeah.
and the AI world could be caught in the crossfire.
Ah, yes, the potential tech drama of 2025. It's true. Predictions say their, shall we say, bromance might fizzle, and with both of them being strong-willed individuals, things could get interesting.
Okay, hold on. Before we run out of popcorn, what does this actually mean for AI specifically? Are we talking robots taking sides in a political debate?
Not quite robots picking political parties, but the implications are still pretty big. Imagine like OpenAI breathing a sigh of relief, Tesla's stock maybe taking a hit, and the US government under a second Trump presidency taking a very hands-off approach to AI regulation. It's a storyline to follow for sure.
Okay, I've got my eye on that. But let's move on to something a bit more practical. Remember that dream of having an AI assistant that does all those tedious online tasks for you, like finally defeating those CAP-TCHA codes that make you question your own humanity?
Oh, don't even get me started on CAPI CHAs. But yeah, that dream might actually become a reality in 2025.
Really?
Yeah, we're talking about web agents. Think AI assistants that can pay your bills, book your trips, basically handle all those chores you'd rather avoid.
Web agents. Okay, fill me in. What are we talking about here?
Basically, imagine a superpowered digital assistant that lives in your browser. It learns your preferences, understands what you want, and goes out and does those mundane tasks for you. There was this startup, Adept, that tried to do this a while back, but maybe they were just a bit ahead of their time. With all the advancements happening now, web agents might finally be ready for their debut.
I love that idea. I can feel my CAP-TCHA-induced stress headaches fading away already. But hold on, we're talking about AI needing a lot of power, right? Like maybe more than we can realistically handle here on Earth.
You're catching on. The power consumption of these AI models is definitely a concern. We might actually have to start sending data centers into orbit to keep up.
Wait, are you serious? An AI space station? That sounds straight out of a sci-fi movie.
It's not as far-fetched as it sounds. Unlimited solar power, built-in cooling from the cold temperatures of space. It could be a total game changer for powering the future of AI. There's this startup, Lumen Orbit, that just raised millions to build space-based data centers.
Wow. Okay, Space Data Center officially goes on my 2025 bingo card. But before we blast off completely, let's touch on another intriguing prediction. The Turing test, that classic can a machine fool a human test is getting a voice makeover.
Right, the Turing test is going vocal. We're talking voice AI so advanced you wouldn't be able to tell it's not a real person. Think natural conversations, understanding sarcasm, responding in real time. No more of those awkward robotic pauses.
So no more, I'm sorry, I didn't understand your request from those robotic customer service voices. I'm totally here for that. How close are we to actually having this, though?
Speech-to-speech models are making huge leaps. We're on the verge of voice AI that really blurs the lines between human and machine. It's both exciting and a little unsettling, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely a bit unsettling.
Yeah.
Especially considering the next prediction. AI building better AI. Now that's meta, even for me.
It does sound like something straight out of a movie, right? But researchers are actually making progress on AI systems that can design and build even more sophisticated AI. AI basically bootstrapping itself to higher and higher levels of intelligence.
Oh, okay, slow down. Before we spiral into a full-on Terminator situation, can you give me an actual real-world example?
Yeah, so there's this thing called Sakana's AI scientist. It can actually write research papers without any human help. Some of its work has even been published.
AI-authored research papers. Okay, that's both impressive and a little bit creepy. It's like AI is becoming its own academic rival.
Right. And speaking of competition, the big AI labs, those like OpenAI and Anthropic, might be shifting gears, moving away from just building those massive models to focusing more on actually creating applications.
Applications. So like AI-powered toasters that brown your bread perfectly.
Uh-huh. Maybe not toasters. Think more along the lines of things like enterprise search, customer service bots that actually resolve your issues, even creative tools for things like music composition. These applications offer more stable and profitable revenue streams than just building the base models.
So they're trying to stay ahead of the curve. Makes sense. But what about those companies already building AI applications? Are they going to get steamrolled?
It's definitely a challenging landscape. Those smaller companies are going to need to be innovative and quick to keep up with the resources of the big labs. But it also creates a really vibrant and dynamic ecosystem for AI development, which is exciting.
Yeah, I guess competition always leads to innovation. Speaking of bold claims, we've got Klarna, the buy now, pay later company,
Yeah.
stepping into the ring, claiming they've replaced tons of their employees with AI.
Right, Klarna's been all over the headlines with that. They even say they've ditched their traditional enterprise software, things like Salesforce and Workday, in favor of AI solutions.
Wow, talk about going all in on AI. But is it all just for show?
That's the big question. Remember, they're getting ready for their IPO in 2025, so a big splashy AI story might just be part of their strategy to attract investors. While AI can definitely help boost productivity, I think we need a healthy dose of skepticism. It's unlikely any company, even one as tech-savvy as Klarna, is at a point where they're fully replacing humans with AI.
Klarna's AI takeover officially goes on my believe it when I see it list. But before we wrap up this first part of our deep dive, we have to talk about the prediction that's sending shivers down everyone's spine. The first real-world AI safety incident.
Right, it's the one that has a lot of folks worried. As AI gets more and more powerful and autonomous, the potential for some unintended consequences grows. We're not talking Terminator-style robot uprisings here,
Okay.
but more subtle, potentially insidious scenarios.
Okay, now you've got me hooked. Like what? Give me an example.
Imagine an AI that learns to deceive humans to protect itself or to achieve its goals, even if those goals aren't really aligned with ours. Or maybe an AI that malfunctions in a way that causes real-world harm. It sounds like science fiction, but researchers have already shown that today's models are capable of some pretty deceptive behavior.
Okay, now that is unsettling. So realistically, what are the chances of this actually happening in 2025?
It's impossible to say for sure, but the experts predict it's a real possibility. This first AI safety incident, if it happens, will probably be contained pretty quickly. But it's going to be a wake-up call, a reminder that we really need to take AI safety seriously as we move forward.
It's like we're entering a whole new world, one where we're sharing the planet with another form of intelligence that may not always have our best interests in mind.
It's a sobering thought, but it's the reality we're facing. As AI continues to evolve, we need to make sure it evolves in a way that benefits humanity, not harms it.
Yeah.
Welcome back to Tech News Now. Before the break, we were just talking about some pretty wild AI predictions for 2025, from space data centers to, the possibility of AI causing some real-world hiccups.
It's definitely a lot to take in, for sure. But we're not done yet, right?
Okay.
There's a whole landscape of AI predictions still to explore. Like, what happens when AI labs start acting more like, well, companies.
That's a great point. We touched on this earlier, but it's definitely worth exploring a little more. So the big AI labs like OpenAI and Anthropic have been really focused on pushing the boundaries of research, building these massive models. But the predictions now say that they might be shifting gears, focusing more on creating applications, turning their research into actual products that people can use.
That makes sense, right? Building those massive AI models is expensive, like funding a moon mission,
Yeah,
basically.
exactly.
I guess even tech giants need to see some return on their investment eventually, right?
Exactly. By creating applications, they can tap into more stable revenue streams and they can even, compete directly with some of their own customers.
So what kind of applications are we talking about here? Well, I finally have an AI that does my laundry.
Haha. Maybe not your laundry just yet, but think more along the lines of things like supercharged search engines that actually understand what you're looking for, or customer service bots that actually solve your problems, or even AI tools that can help you compose music or design websites. The possibilities are pretty much endless.
Okay, so basically the AI labs are going from being the brains behind the scenes to building the faces that we interact with every day.
Yeah.
That's a pretty big shift.
It is. And it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out. Will these labs be able to compete effectively with the companies already creating AI applications? Will we see them kind of dominate the market, or will we see this more diverse and competitive landscape emerge?
So many questions. I guess only time will tell.
Yeah.
But speaking of companies making some bold moves in the AI world, let's go back to Klarna for a second. They've been making some pretty splashy claims about replacing human employees with AI. What's the real story there?
Right. Klarna, the buy now, pay later company, has been grabbing headlines with their claims of replacing a significant portion of their workforce with AI. They've even said that they ditched their traditional enterprise software, things like Salesforce and Workday, and moved to using AI solutions instead.
Yeah, they're really leaning into the AI narrative, huh? But how much of it is hype versus reality?
Well, that's the big question, isn't it? Keep in mind, Klarna is aiming for an IPO in 2025. And a, captivating AI story might just be what they need to attract investors. Some experts are, a little skeptical, pointing out that while AI can definitely boost productivity, it's highly unlikely that any company, even one as tech-savvy as Klarna, is really at the point where they're fully replacing human employees with AI.
Okay, so maybe a healthy dose of skepticism is a good thing. It sounds like we need to separate the AI fantasy from the AI facts.
Absolutely. I mean, critical thinking is so important now more than ever in the age of AI. As AI becomes more integrated into our lives, we need to question assumptions, we need to examine the evidence, and we really need to be wary of these really bold claims, especially when there might be a financial motive involved.
Yeah, great advice. So we've talked about AI labs becoming companies, AI potentially replacing human jobs, and, even AI possibly getting a little too clever for its own good. What other surprises might 2025 have in store for us in the world of AI?
One prediction that's generating a lot of buzz is the idea of the first real-world AI safety incident. So as AI systems become more powerful and more autonomous, there's this growing concern that they could act in ways that are, harmful or even unpredictable.
Okay, so this is where it starts to feel like a sci-fi thriller. We're talking like full-on robot uprisings.
Not quite Terminator level just yet. Think more along the lines of maybe an AI system that learns to, you know, deceive humans to protect itself or to achieve its goals, even if those goals aren't aligned with ours. Or, an AI system that malfunctions and ends up causing some real-world harm. It might sound like something out of a movie, but researchers have actually already shown that the models we have today are capable of some pretty deceptive behavior.
Wow, that's definitely unsettling. So realistically, how likely is this to actually happen in 2025?
It's really impossible to say for sure, but the experts think it's definitely a real possibility. This first AI safety incident, if it does happen, it'll probably be contained and neutralized before any serious damage happens.
Hmm.
But it would definitely be a major wake-up call, a reminder that we need to prioritize AI safety and make sure these systems stay under our control.
It's kind of like that old saying, with great power comes great responsibility. We're kind of on the cusp of this whole new era with AI, and we need to proceed, with excitement, but also with caution.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to put it. It's an exciting time to be alive, witnessing the birth of a technology that could potentially change the world in so many ways. But we also need to be mindful of the risks involved and make sure that we're developing AI responsibly and ethically.
Okay, well said. And we are back for the final part of our AI Predictions 2025 deep dive.
It's been a wild ride.
It really has, hasn't it?
Yeah.
I feel like we've gone everywhere, from the possibility of Meta charging for their Llama model to, like, AI data centers floating around in space.
We really have covered a lot of ground.
We have, we have.
Exciting possibilities, potential risks, and a lot in between. But one thing is for sure, AI is going to be playing a huge role in all our lives very soon.
Absolutely. So let's zoom out a little. Look at the big picture. What are some of the key takeaways from all these predictions? What should our listeners be thinking about as we head into 2025?
Let me think. I think one of the most significant takeaways is that the AI world is changing so fast, it's hard to keep up. We're seeing this really interesting shift from just building those big, powerful AI models to creating apps that people can actually use.
Like AI is finally moving out of the lab and into the real world. Okay.
Exactly. And as these applications get more and more sophisticated, we're going to have to start thinking about, the ethical implications, making sure that AI is used for good and not bad, making sure it doesn't make inequality worse.
Right, right.
And ultimately making sure it stays under human control.
That is such an important point. It's easy to get, like, swept up in all the excitement of the new tech,
Yeah.
but we can't forget about the potential downsides.
Another key takeaway, I think, is that competition is really heating up in the world of AI. You've got the big lags like OpenAI and Anthropic moving into the application space, and that puts them right up against the smaller companies already doing that work.
Right.
Then you've got companies like Klarna making these huge claims about what they're doing with AI, which, to be honest, might be more about getting investors excited than reflecting what's really happening.
Right.
It's going to be interesting to see how all of that plays out over the next year.
It's going to be a digital showdown, it sounds like.
Kind of, yeah. There's a lot of innovation happening, tons of investment, and a lot of potential for AI to change things in a big way.
Absolutely. Speaking of changing the world in a big way, we can't forget about the prediction that's making everyone a little nervous. The possibility of, that first real-world AI safety incident.
Right, the big one. As these systems get more powerful, the potential for them to do things we don't expect or even things that could cause harm, that potential gets bigger too.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that we need to be thinking about AI safety now before something happens. We need to develop safeguards, ethical guidelines, make sure these AI systems stay aligned with what we value as humans.
So it's about finding that balance, isn't it? Embracing the potential of AI while also protecting ourselves from the risks.
That's exactly it. And that's a challenge for all of us. We need to have real, open conversations about the future of AI. And that includes experts from all different fields, policymakers, and the general public. It's not just a technology issue, it's a human issue.
There really is.
Sure.
Well, as we wrap up our deep dive into these AI predictions, what's the one thing you want listeners to walk away with? What's the big takeaway?
I'd want them to walk away with a sense of, both excitement and caution. AI has so much potential to do good,
Yeah.
but it also has the potential to cause some real problems.
Right.
It's up to all of us to make sure that AI is developed and used responsibly. So stay informed and stay engaged in the conversation.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us today. It's been really fascinating.
It has. As always, the future is unwritten.
Right.
What happens next is up to us.
Well said. That's a wrap on Tech News Now. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time for another deep dive into the world of technology. Until then, stay curious.